Hey guys, Scripted, we're here with another video, and we're going to talk some Superman. I don't know, it feels like every remake they do, things just get worse. And they're not, you still can't compare it to the original to me. So you're just like, I don't know, do I want to see a lesser version of the original? But that's why I just had no desire to see this. There's really good Superman movies I can watch without watching this one. So I was just kind of like, why am I going to spend all this money and go watch this? But this is pretty wild that Dean Kane blasts James Gunn over Superman immigrant comments and the removal of the American way. And if you didn't know, Dean Kane played Superman in Lois and Clark, which was a TV show. Interview with TMZ, Kane responded to Gunn's controversial comments to the Times of London, where the director described Superman as an immigrant and framed his story as the story of America. While the phrasing may sound harmless to some, many longtime fans of the character see it as part of a broader push to redefine classic heroes through a modern ideological lens. Well, here's the thing, let's say it isn't. Let's say he didn't mean it that way. You've lost the benefit of the doubt, Hollywood. It's been going on for 15 years. So what's happening now is, even if you don't necessarily mean that, which we're going to read on, he probably does. But let's say he doesn't. He's not connecting it to any current political ideological lens. Who would believe you now at this point? It's been 15 years of this stuff. You're not getting the benefit of the doubt anymore. Of course that's what you're doing, right? If in people's eyes, as soon as they hear that, they're like, yep, that's what they're doing. Because that's all they ever do. Right? Even if they're trying to be, proper with it and stuff, they've backed themselves into a corner so much now that no one's going to believe you. How woke is Hollywood going to make this character, Kane asked. How much is Disney going to change their Snow White? Why are they going to change these characters to exist for the times? That's a good question. Why would you take legacy characters that are culturally huge and try to use them to manipulate young people, for example, or people to view the current world a certain way? Well, because that's what they're doing, Remember I talked about this like last year? Remember O'Keefe had that hidden camera with the Disney VP where he admits that's what they're doing? He fully says, yeah, they think they're going to change the world. They're going to change how everybody thinks about the world, right? And that was right around the time when there was the protests about the supposed Don't Say Gay bill, which of course didn't even have that language in it. It was all sexualization of children. Didn't say that at any point in the bill, but whatever, doesn't matter. I don't want to get too political. And there was all those protests and stuff, all that stuff was going on. And then he gets this VP in a secret interview admitting that, or a hidden camera, admitting that that's what they're doing. So you don't get the benefit of the doubt now, which means people are just going to get ticked off. And then they're not going to go watch your stuff because they don't want to spend money on getting lectured. Kane's concerns reflect what many fans have expressed in recent years of frustration with studios reworking legacy characters instead of simply creating new ones. That sentiment grew louder when DC Comics officially dropped the phrase "the American way" from Superman's slogan in 2021, replacing it with "truth, justice, and a better tomorrow."
I'm here to fight for truth and justice in the American way.
You're going to end up fighting every elected official in this country.
Lois? I never lie.
For Superman, it was truth, justice, and the American way. Well, they dropped that, Kane said. Changing beloved characters, I don't think, is a great idea. If you want to create a new character, go ahead and do that. And what this seems to be, is a political leaning that is anti-American, and we're not going to put... So basically you have, Superman's the American icon in terms of superheroes, right? I would even put him above... I'd put him above Captain America, historically. He is the pinnacle of American iconography in a superhero. And it seems to be, based on the precedent that's been set for the last decade or 15 years, that that character now is in the hands of people that are thinking about America being completely changed into something else, into this sort of, I don't know, part of this global consortium or whatever, and not having its own identity. They want every other identity, but they don't want this sort of traditional identity anymore. And so when you have people with that perspective controlling this level of character, this level of cultural iconic character, they're going to change it because, again, they think they're going to change the world. They think that kids are going to listen to that and be like, yeah, better tomorrow, not better America. We want just about all of us, kumbaya. And I also wanted to say that a lot of these people aren't necessarily bad intentioned. Sometimes they're ignorant, and sometimes they're just nice people, but have been completely propagated to their whole lives. Like, people forget, like, for example, I know people in my family that are boomers, and they were just inundated with We Are the World and all this stuff. They've been getting this idea that we're all just one big earth and everyone's the same for decades. Through Christian programming, through I know everyone wants to say that the bigots are no, guys, go back, go get like any of those magazines that were like World Vision related and all that stuff that all the boomers were into. It's all We Are the World, pictures of all of us together. There's that video that they used to put on TV, that commercial with all the different colors of people holding hands and singing. And
I'd like to buy the world a home and furnish it with love.
I like to teach the world to sing with me. Perfect harmony, perfect harmony. I like to teach the world to sing today.
We're all going to just be one big thing, even though it's not possible. There's too many differences between cultures. So, but having said that, so some of these people are honestly they're just totally they've been inundated with this their whole life. So they think having something that represents America by itself is counterproductive to the We Are the World mentality. Now, that doesn't mean there's some of them that have a very clear agenda as well, as the VP of Disney said. But I don't want to just judge all of them with the same brush or brush them all with the same color or whatever. But either way, as a fan of Superman, you don't want to see that. You don't want to see this Americana turn into just this sort of global whatever. It just sucks. Kane added that while Superman has always been a symbol of goodness, that doesn't mean his identity should be manipulated to reflect a political agenda. Superman's inherent weakness is his goodness, Kane said. He described the character's morality as a cultural strength. That's what makes him so powerful. He represents great values. But right now, the people that are in control of this character don't want to attach great values to America. It's very trendy to be against the culture that you were born into. And this is something that happens throughout history every single time. When you have nothing to do, there's no wars, you're comfortable, you're in your decadent. This happened in Rome, this happened so many times. You start destroying your own culture from within because you have nothing to live for. Right? And that's what I think is happening. I could be wrong, but that's what I think is happening. And so they don't want, Superman to represent America because they have this belief that America is bad and has to be bad. That's what they're fighting for, is changing America from its badness. So we're not going to have a guy whose strength is goodness and morality and character. Like in the original Christopher Reeves plays Superman, he says, I never lie. So he says to Lois right after he says, truth, justice, and the American way. He says, I never lie. And so this is why people think there's an agenda. Because again, you're not getting the benefit of the doubt. Why would you change that? What is the purpose of changing that? I'm trying to get to the bottom of it. I could be wrong. You guys let me know in the comment section, but this is what I think is happening. And it just makes me not want to go even more. Even if there wasn't all this political stuff in there or whatever they're trying to do, change the world crap. Even without that, I would probably not waste my time with these new remakes. But with that, there's no way. We know Superman is an immigrant. He's a freaking alien, Kane acknowledged, but said framing the character primarily through a modern political lens crosses the line. That's a bridge too far. Listen, man, you're an automatic citizen if you have Superman's powers, as far as I'm concerned. Right? Like, we don't really need more fast food workers, at least in Canada, we have way too many. There's too many. There's not enough jobs. But if you landed with those powers and that type of morality and goodness, you are in, like Flynn. No one would have a problem. Kane expressed deeper concern about guns' framing of Superman as a borderless political metaphor rather than a uniquely American symbol with timeless values. Well, sure. The American way is immigrant-friendly, tremendously immigrant-friendly, Kane explained. But there are rules. You can't come in saying, I want to get rid of all the rules in America because I want it to be more like Somalia. Well, that doesn't work because you have to leave Somalia to come here. There have to be limits because we can't have everybody in the United States. Society will fail, so there have to be limits. Well, and I'm experienced that up here in Canada. I'm not experiencing it where I live, but in the major cities, we literally have groups of people, foreign-born people, having physical fights, mobs of men having physical fights in the streets about conflicts that are happening on the other side of the world, like where they came from. So instead of going back and fighting that battle that they're fighting over land or whatever, they're taking to the streets of Canada and beating each other up as if that's going to accomplish something. That doesn't make any sense. So he makes a good point in the sense that, like, you leave there and then you still keep fighting the same fight, except you're not there, you're somewhere else that has no control over that fight, so why are you doing this? Yeah, like, why would you leave a country to move to another country that's got a completely different culture than yours, only to say, no, I want to bring my culture here? Then why did you move there? I want a better life, and then turn it into where I came from that was a worse life, right? That doesn't make sense. But that is kind of the mentality, I think, that a lot of these people in Hollywood have, which is a privileged person's mentality, right? The poor legal Mexican that's living in a border town that, by the way, voted overwhelmingly one way, and I think you can figure out what way that was. His job or his kids or whatever are at risk because of people that came in illegally. And he's at the bottom of society. He's the one feeling the pain of this, not people living in gated communities that seem to be, pushing this stuff, as all the rage. It doesn't impact them at all. In fact, even when these movies flop, it doesn't seem to impact them. They keep their jobs, they move on to the next thing and keep rolling in the money, and it doesn't seem to matter. The only people in Hollywood I can think of that actually get blackballed now are the people that don't say the right thing politically. Somebody posted on Twitter about Jim Carrey and how he was on Larry King years ago, 10 or 15 years ago, and he was talking about vaccines. Now, I'm not getting into that, but whatever you think about vaccines, but he had his perspective, which was sort of counter to the mainstream perspective. And somebody said, he's basically been blackballed since then. And I was trying to think about it. Like, I think Jim Carrey's a goofball. I think he says stupid stuff all the time. And as a Canadian, he needs to shut up about American politics. It's not really your role. You're a Canadian. Just be quiet like Keanu Reeves does. That's where you should be. But I was trying to think, and I'm like, the last 10 or 15 years, has he actually been in anything of note? I can't think of anything. Let me know in the comment section. So all that to say, like this whole political movement, it really, again, it's easy to pull the virtue card and say, we are the world, bring everybody here. Even if they're coming in illegally, it doesn't matter. Bring everybody here. We are the world. It's easy to do that when you are in a gated community with security and protected and extremely wealthy. And for all intents and purposes, if things really went to pot, you could literally just move to another country in a heartbeat. It's so funny when people say, if you don't like it, move to another country. It's like the guy that doesn't like it is making 30 a year, barely hanging on. He can't just move to another country. Like, again, it's always the people with more resources that want things that harm people with less resources. Even though sometimes, like I said earlier, they don't even realize that's what they're doing because they're just so oblivious and so over here and so far removed from that. So, anyways, Gunn's remarks, including his claim that Superman is an immigrant that came from other places and populated the country. That's what he said, an immigrant that came from other places and populated the country? This is just it's just dumb. That doesn't even make any sense. Superman is an immigrant that came from other places. So right there we've got, that's a problem. And populated the country. So Superman is an immigrant who came from multiple other places, and then he also populated the country. How did he do that? Was he a big donor? Did he go to the bank and was he a big donor? Is that like in the lore? Someone let me know. It sparked immediate backlash online. Fox News branded the film super woke, with host Jesse Waters sarcastically saying, "You know what it says on his cape? MS-13. Well, see, and this is where you gotta use your brain and just think logically. At the end of the day, just don't give them your money. Like, if you don't like it, if you think it's stupid what they're doing, just don't give them your money. It's that simple. Eventually, the money will run out. I know I said earlier, they just seem to never get fired. Eventually, it will run out. It will. It's going to take a long time, but it will. Kellyanne Conway. Oh yeah, the Trump advisor. We don't go to the movie theater to be lectured. Yeah, we don't. Kane also said, I think bringing Superman into it, I think that was a mistake by James Gunn to say it's an immigrant thing, and I think it's going to hurt the numbers on the movie. I was excited for the film. I'm excited to see what it is. I'm rooting for it to be a success, but I don't like the last political comment. And it's ill-advised. I don't know. Even if you were on like that wavelength where you just think everybody should just be able to, amnesty for all or whatever, is that something you really need to see in your movies? Like in a Superman movie? Don't you just want to see a fun American superhero kicking butt, taking names, and saving kids and all that good stuff? Isn't that what you want? You don't want to be thinking about, like, don't you want the escape, even if you are on that side, that belief system? Don't you want the escape from that for a couple hours instead of just constantly thinking about it? You know what I mean? It's like, so it's almost like James Gunn says that so that you sit in the theater and that's what's going through your mind, which again feeds back into that whole, like, they're going to change the way we think about the world mentality by making these statements so you think like that while you're watching the movie. Change it from the American way so you think about that it's changed while you're watching it. And it maybe they think subconsciously it brings up all of those things that you think are wrong with America and needs to change or something like that. But even if you do, don't you just want to escape all that? You don't want to sit there thinking about that all day, do you? It feels like that's all they want us to do, is just think about that all day, political stuff. All day. And it's just like, it's a Superman movie, bro. I don't want to think about that at all. It's just a Superman movie, dude. It's not that deep. Gunn appeared unfazed when questioned about the controversy at the premiere. I don't have anything to say to anybody. He told Variety when asked by reporter Mark Malkin what he had to say to Trump supporters in the wake of his immigrant comment. Why would it just be Trump supporters? Like I said, wouldn't it be everybody? Don't we all want an escape? See, it's all about, like, that's all they think about. And the reporters too. I think this is a movie about kindness, and I think that's something everyone can relate to. Okay, that was an okay... There you go. That's what you should have said from the beginning. The guy that plays the Green Lantern, he didn't take the bait. He was that guy that called Agatha all alone the gayest, and I had to make a song about that. That reporter that's always trying to, like, stir up stuff.
So I'm told, I've seen the first episode, but Agatha is the gayest Marvel project yet. Do you agree?
It better be.
He tried to get the Green Lantern guy to get all into it too, and he just didn't take the bait. He's like, bro, it's a movie. It's a Superman movie. Relax, basically, is what he said, right? It's like, and that's a big part of the problem with this too, is the media. But James Gunn didn't have to go that route. He could have just stayed with this from the very beginning. That's all he had to do, and then he didn't have to change the For a Better Tomorrow from the American way either, right? He didn't have to do that. He chose to do that. But not everything, or he did, well, they did already, and then they're continuing that. But not everyone is playing it safe. Sean Gunn, James's brother, and the actor portraying billionaire Maxwell Lord in the DC Universe doubled down. Oh, why? Yes, Superman is an immigrant, and yes, the people that we support in this country are immigrants. Who's we? And if you don't like that, you're not American. People who say no to immigrants are against the American way. Again! I think everyone's okay with legal immigration on either side, correct? That would be okay. Some people don't like the illegal immigration, including legal immigrants, because it affects them the most. And yes, the people that we support in this country, how are you supporting them though? You live in a gated community. Do you have some in your home? Are you taking to the streets and are you handing out sandwiches? Or are you just saying, government, do what I want you to do while I sit in my gated community with my home theater and my friends? What exactly are you doing in support of the immigrants other than saying, government, take taxpayers' money and do this with it? Isn't that all you're really doing? See, and this is the disconnect, right? This is the disconnect. This is why you keep your mouth shut. And I say this, I've said it a million times. Keanu Reeves, and I'm proud of him as a Canadian, is the perfect example. Because he doesn't get into any of this nonsense ever. He shuts up, he makes his movies, he does the promo material, he keeps it all about that. He doesn't talk about what good things he's doing or who he's supporting. And then information over the years trickles out about these deeds that he's done that he didn't say anything to anybody about. Actual deeds, not just saying government, take people's money and do what I want. Actual deeds. And it just makes him look like the super best person ever compared to running your mouth. It's kind of like people who go and do something nice for somebody and then they go running around telling everybody that they did it. So then you're like, well, did you just do this to try and look good, or did you do this because you care about that person? It's like that. Those people are not my role models. The guns are not my role models because they talk big. You're not doing anything special by changing a tagline in a Superman movie. You're not doing anything special by saying you love immigrants. That's just mouth. It's words. So again, I'm not going to pay you to see your crap. You're just virtue signaling. It's just so corny and lame. And again, I think everyone can agree, right? We want an escape. We want to watch Superman. We don't want this nonsense. I don't want to think about the immigrant problem in the United States while I'm or Canada for that matter, while I'm watching a superhero movie. That's quite the irony considering the studio dropped the American way from Superman's motto. Yeah, as Superman prepares for wide release, it enters theaters with more than a cape and its superpowers. It's carrying the weight of yet another culture war over what our heroes should stand for. According to Dean Kane and many others, removing the core identity of the Man of Steel to satisfy Hollywood politics isn't just misguided. It's a betrayal of what Superman has always represented. And that's what I said at the beginning. He's always been the American way. Like, we have the clip. That's what he is. So changing him and thinking you're like doing good for the world is no different than saying I love immigrants from your mansion in your gated estate. you're just a mouthpiece. And the thing that's so funny is we all know that. You know, we all know that. Like, come on, if you were on their side in terms of like you're like a whatever, let's say a left-leaning political person, you would agree, right? Like, that's literally just lip service. You're not actually doing anything. Changing these little things in the Superman movie, are they really doing anything? Are they? Right? So don't you think it's just kind of lame? Like, why doesn't James Gunn and his brother write their own character, their own superhero guy, and make a movie, and he can be immigrant man, and he can go around saving illegal immigrants from ICE. Right? No, I mean, whatever your views on that issue are, right? If that's what you want to do it. But don't act like Superman's doing that and, oh, you know, because we changed the tagline, we're saving the world. We're saving the immigrants from our gated community. Like, come on, man. You're not falling for that, are you? Even if you're on that side, you're not falling for that crap, are you? It's so pathetic. Anyways, all that to say, let me know in the comment section if you've seen this or you're going to see this, and if you thought it was good, whether or not you agree or disagree with this sort of quasi-weird virtue signal political thing they're doing, and whether or not you want to just go to the movies and not worry about that stuff, especially when it comes to Superman. So anyways, let me know in the comment section what you think, guys. If you like this content, please like, subscribe, always helps the channel. Feel free to check out anything else on my channel. Have yourselves a really good day.